Imagine if you could approach every challenge, every decision, and every conversation with clarity. Imagine if, instead of reacting impulsively, you could see the patterns, understand the principles, and make choices that truly aligned with your purpose. That skill exists, and it's simpler than we think. It's called correct thinking. Most of us believe that thinking is natural, that it comes automatically, but the truth is, most of our thoughts are shaped by habits, assumptions, and external pressures. We think we're making clear decisions, yet we are often navigating on autopilot. The first step to changing that is to understand your why. Why do you think what you think? Why do you make the choices you make? Purpose clarifies thought. When you know your why, everything else, the strategies, the outcomes, the relationships, falls into sharper focus. The next step is questioning assumptions. Every belief you hold, every choice you make, is based on some underlying assumption. Are those assumptions true? Could there be another perspective? This isn't about being cynical, it's about being curious. Curiosity sharpens thought. It prevents us from accepting the world as it appears and allows us to see it as it really is. But thinking correctly isn't just about spotting errors or questioning ideas. It's about developing a reliable process. Great thinkers don't stumble upon insight by chance. They practice reflection, they gather evidence, they analyze patterns. They focus not just on the results, but on the habits that lead to consistent, intelligent decision making. The most transformative aspect of correct thinking is adaptability. The world is changing faster than ever. What worked yesterday may fail tomorrow. Correct thinking is not rigid, it evolves. When you embrace learning and remain open to new information, your mind becomes a tool for growth, not just a repository for facts. Correct thinking is more than a skill, it's a foundation. It changes the way you approach challenges, the way you connect with others, and the way you shape your future. If you commit to thinking correctly, you don't just improve your decisions, you transform your life. Remember, clarity begins with purpose, grows through curiosity, strengthens with process, and thrives in adaptability. Master that, and you unlock the one skill that truly changes everything. Thinking correctly begins not with strategies or techniques, but with purpose. Purpose shapes thought because every decision, every idea, and every judgment is guided by an underlying reason, whether we are conscious of it or not. Without understanding the why behind our thinking, we risk making choices that are reactive, shallow, or misaligned with our true goal. The why acts as a compass, providing clarity and direction in a world overloaded with information, opinions, and distractions. When you ask yourself why you are thinking about a problem in a certain way, you begin to uncover the assumptions that have unconsciously guided your reasoning. For example, imagine you are deciding whether to accept a new job. Most people focus on salary, prestige, or convenience. But asking, "Why do I want this job?" can reveal deeper motivations, perhaps the desire for personal growth, creative freedom, or alignment with core values. This understanding changes how you evaluate the opportunity. You move from surface-level decision making to a level of thinking that is reflective and intentional. Purpose in thinking also provides a filter for complexity. Modern life presents countless options, conflicting advice, and rapid changes. Without a clear why, the mind becomes scattered, making decisions based on immediate rewards, peer pressure, or fear of missing out. When you identify your why, every piece of information can be assessed against this standard. This doesn't simplify thinking by ignoring complexity. Rather, it gives you a framework to navigate it effectively. A person with a clear why can prioritize what matters, weigh alternatives critically, and resist distractions that lead to poor choices. The why of thinking also strengthens resilience in decision making. Life rarely presents perfect choices. Challenges and failures are inevitable. When your thinking is anchored in purpose, setbacks are not paralyzing. They become opportunities to reassess and align with your objectives. Consider someone who values impact over recognition. If a project fails or criticism arises, they are less likely to be discouraged because their focus is on meaningful contribution, not immediate approval. Purpose becomes the lens through which the mind interprets experiences, creating consistency and stability in thought. Thinking with a clear why improves creativity and innovation. When the purpose of thought is defined, the mind is free to explore multiple pathways to achieve that objective. For instance, an engineer asked to improve efficiency in a manufacturing process can approach the problem differently depending on their why. If the goal is profit maximization, solutions might prioritize cost reduction. If the goal is sustainability, solutions shift toward waste reduction or renewable energy. Defining why you are thinking about something guides the mind toward more relevant, effective, and often more imaginative solutions. The practice of uncovering the why also cultivates self-awareness. Many decisions are driven by habit, social influence, or unconscious biases. By asking why repeatedly, you shine light on these hidden drivers. This process encourages reflection, mindfulness, and deliberate reasoning. It is not enough to think, thinking must be purposeful. Without this, even intelligent thought can be misdirected, reinforcing assumptions rather than uncovering truth. In addition, the why of thinking strengthens communication and leadership. When you articulate not just what you think, but why you think it, your reasoning becomes persuasive and understandable to others. Decisions are no longer arbitrary statements. They become arguments rooted in purpose and principle. Teams, communities, and organizations thrive when members share and understand each other's why, leading to alignment, trust, and collaboration. The why anchors long-term growth. Life's complexity and unpredictability can make people focus on short-term gains. Thinking correctly with purpose ensures that decisions are consistent with long-term vision and values. This alignment reduces cognitive dissonance, prevents regret, and allows the mind to act as a coherent, disciplined tool rather than a reactive instrument. The why of thinking is the foundation of clarity. It transforms thought from reactive to intentional, from shallow to deep, from scattered to focused. It helps navigate complexity, strengthens resilience, fosters creativity, builds self-awareness, enhances communication, and guides sustainable growth. Without it, even structured reasoning can falter, leading to confusion, indecision, or choices misaligned with true objectives. Purpose is not an abstract luxury. It is the practical cornerstone of thinking correctly. Correct thinking begins with recognizing that much of what we accept as truth is built on assumptions, beliefs we rarely test, and perspectives we seldom challenge. Assumptions are mental shortcuts that simplify decision-making, but when left unexamined, they can lead to errors, biases, and flawed judgments. Questioning assumptions is not about doubt for the sake of doubt. It is about creating a disciplined approach to thought where beliefs are verified, perspectives are broadened, and decisions are more accurate. Every decision we make rests on a set of implicit assumptions. For example, consider a manager deciding to hire a candidate based on their resume alone. The manager might assume that prestigious education guarantees competence, or that prior job titles reflect actual skill. These assumptions may sometimes be true, but they are not universally reliable. By questioning these assumptions, asking why a degree or title should correlate with performance, the manager opens the possibility of discovering overlooked qualities such as creativity, resilience, or adaptability. This demonstrates that questioning assumptions allows for deeper insight beyond the surface. Assumptions influence not only decisions, but also perceptions of reality. People often see what they expect to see because their minds filter information through pre-existing belief. A teacher might assume a student is underperforming due to lack of effort, when in reality, external factors like family stress or learning differences are affecting performance. Questioning these assumptions enables us to gather more information, interpret data more accurately, and act with understanding rather than prejudice. It is the difference between seeing the world as it appears and seeing it as it truly is. The process of questioning assumptions also strengthens critical thinking. Every belief or statement can be analyzed through systematic inquiry. What evidence supports it? Could the opposite be true? Are there alternative explanations? This process trains the mind to avoid automatic acceptance of ideas and encourages a habit of rigorous evaluation. Critical thinking is not an innate talent. It is cultivated by repeatedly examining assumptions, identifying gaps in logic, and refining reasoning. This habit transforms thinking from passive reception to active interrogation. Questioning assumptions also promotes innovation. In organizations, industries, and personal life, progress often stalls when people operate under fixed assumptions. Challenging the status quo uncovers possibilities that were previously invisible. For example, inventors and entrepreneurs succeed by asking questions like, "Why must this process work this way?" Or "Is there a better approach that everyone is overlooking?" These questions break the mental boundaries created by unexamined assumptions, allowing new solutions and breakthroughs to emerge. Social assumptions are particularly powerful and often go unquestioned. Cultural norms, stereotypes, and traditional beliefs shape behavior and thought patterns without conscious awareness. By questioning assumptions about gender roles, career paths, or social expectations, individuals create the space to act authentically, make unbiased decisions, and treat others fairly. This leads to more inclusive thinking and better collaboration, as judgments are based on evidence and values rather than inherited assumptions. Questioning assumptions is also essential for self-awareness and personal growth. Many internal assumptions, beliefs about our abilities, limitations, or identity, restrict potential. For instance, assuming I'm not good at public speaking may prevent someone from pursuing opportunities that require communication skills. By actively challenging these self-limiting assumptions, individuals can identify false constraints, gain confidence, and develop abilities previously thought unattainable. This is how assumption checking transforms thought into empowerment. It is important to recognize that questioning assumptions is a disciplined, ongoing practice. It requires humility, curiosity, and patience. Often, the first reaction is defensive. We cling to familiar beliefs because they provide comfort and certainty. But true thinking requires stepping outside that comfort, asking hard questions, and being willing to adjust conclusions based on evidence. The goal is not to discard assumptions indiscriminately, but to validate them, refine them, or replace them when necessary. Questioning assumptions improves decision-making under uncertainty. Life rarely presents perfect information. By identifying the assumptions underlying a decision, we can assess risks more accurately, anticipate blind spots, and make more informed choices. For example, a business leader might assume a new market behaves like a familiar one. By questioning that assumption, researching local behavior, and testing hypotheses, the leader reduces risk and increases the likelihood of success. Questioning assumptions is the gateway to deeper understanding, clarity, and intelligent action. It transforms thought from passive acceptance to active inquiry, fosters critical thinking, drives innovation, challenges biases, strengthens self-awareness, and improves decisions in complex, uncertain situations. It is a skill that prevents mental shortcuts from becoming traps and ensures that thinking aligns with reality rather than habit or convenience. Correct thinking is not simply about achieving results. It is about understanding and refining the process that leads to those results. Outcome-focused thinking can create short-term gains, but it often overlooks the habits, strategies, and structures that make success sustainable. Process-oriented thinking emphasizes the steps, reasoning, and methods behind decisions, ensuring consistency, adaptability, and long-term growth. By focusing on the process, You gain control over variables you can influence, rather than being consumed by factors outside your control. Every successful outcome is preceded by a series of deliberate actions and decisions. For example, an athlete winning a championship does not rely solely on natural talent or the final game. The victory is built on consistent training, mental preparation, strategy, and recovery routines over time. By concentrating on these elements, the process, the athlete develops skills, resilience, and adaptability that guarantee not just a single win, but ongoing excellence. This illustrates that outcomes are ephemeral, but process is durable. Process-focused thinking also reduces the pressure and anxiety associated with results. When the mind fixates on outcome alone, failure becomes paralyzing, and uncertainty can lead to poor decisions. By contrast, attention to process creates a framework for action where effort, reflection, and improvement are measurable, regardless of external success. A student preparing for an exam benefits more from disciplined study routines, active review, and problem-solving strategies than from simply aiming for a high grade. The outcome may vary due to difficulty or unforeseen challenges, but the process builds skills that persist long after the exam. Emphasizing process encourages deliberate practice and learning. Outcome-driven thinking can tempt shortcuts, superficial effort, or risk avoidance. Process-driven thinking prioritizes mastery and refinement. In creative fields, for instance, a writer focusing solely on publishing a bestseller may rush the work, compromise quality, or ignore critical feedback. A writer focusing on the process, writing consistently, revising thoughtfully, and studying craft, develops competence, confidence, and originality. Over time, the outcome naturally improves because the underlying process is strong. Process thinking also fosters resilience and adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and outcomes are often influenced by variables beyond our control. By valuing the process, individuals can navigate setbacks constructively. Entrepreneurs, for example, rarely succeed on the first attempt. Those who focus on refining their approach, learning from failures, iterating solutions, and improving systems are far more likely to achieve long-term success than those who obsess over immediate results. The process becomes a stabilizing force, allowing progress even when outcomes fluctuate. Another critical aspect of process-oriented thinking is the development of habits. Habits are essentially automated mini-processes that shape thought, behavior, and results. When we focus on cultivating productive habits, we create a reliable path toward consistent outcomes. For example, a leader who prioritizes daily reflection, team communication, and structured problem-solving fosters an organizational culture where sound decisions become routine, rather than dependent on sporadic brilliance or luck. Processes, once embedded as habits, amplify effectiveness across every decision and task. Process-oriented thinking also enhances critical evaluation and learning from feedback. When attention is on outcomes alone, failure can feel personal, discouraging, and final. When attention is on process, outcomes are interpreted as data. Successes and failures alike provide insights into which steps are effective, which assumptions are flawed, and where adjustments are needed. This creates a continuous improvement cycle where learning is embedded in every action. For example, a software development team using iterative testing focuses on improving the coding process. Each iteration, whether successful or not, contributes to skill development, efficiency, and innovation, leading to higher quality outcomes over time. Additionally, process thinking improves decision-making under uncertainty. When outcomes are unpredictable, processes provide stability. Investors, for instance, may not control market fluctuations, but by following disciplined processes research, diversification, risk assessment, they manage exposure and make rational choices. The emphasis on process reduces impulsivity, emotional reaction, and over-reliance on luck, creating a mindset oriented toward consistent, thoughtful action. Focusing on process strengthens long-term vision. Outcome-driven thinking often prioritizes short-term wins, leading to compromised principles, superficial strategies, or reactive behavior. Process-driven thinking ensures alignment with values, goals, and long-term objectives. Over time, a well-structured process compounds effort, skill, and insight into sustainable success, while also cultivating the habits and mindset necessary to adapt as circumstances change. Focusing on process over outcome shifts the mindset from reactive to proactive, from luck dependent to skill, dependent from anxiety, driven to disciplined. Process-oriented thinking ensures continuous improvement, resilience, mastery, and sustainable growth. Outcomes become natural byproducts of disciplined, intentional, and well-refined processes rather than unpredictable targets pursued blindly. By investing attention in the steps rather than the end, thinking becomes a structured, reliable, and transformative skill. Correct thinking requires more than understanding principles and processes. It requires the willingness to evolve as circumstances, information, and environments change. Continuous learning and adaptability are essential because the world is dynamic. New knowledge emerges, technology transforms industries, and social and economic conditions shift rapidly. Those who cling to fixed assumptions or resist new information risk stagnation, whereas those who embrace learning and adapt their thinking thrive. Learning and adaptability are not optional. They are integral components of a mind capable of thinking correctly. Continuous learning begins with curiosity and the recognition that no matter how much we know, there is always more to understand. Knowledge is never static, and expertise in one area does not guarantee insight in another. For instance, a professional who mastered a particular technology a few years ago may find it obsolete today. By committing to ongoing learning, reading, observing trends, experimenting, and seeking mentorship, they maintain relevance and improve the quality of their decisions. Learning continuously ensures that thinking evolves alongside changing circumstances rather than lagging behind reality. Adaptability complements learning by applying knowledge in flexible, context-sensitive ways. Learning alone is insufficient if new information cannot be integrated into decisions or behavior. Adaptable thinkers adjust their strategies and perspectives in response to evidence, feedback, or changing conditions. For example, during a business disruption, a leader may need to pivot operational strategy, reallocate resources, or explore new markets. Those who are adaptable do not resist change. They assess the situation, reinterpret prior assumptions, and implement informed solutions. Adaptability turns knowledge into action and ensures that thinking remains relevant in real-world contexts. Both continuous learning and adaptability require humility. The mind must recognize that being wrong or uninformed is not a weakness but an opportunity for growth. Many people resist new ideas because they are attached to identity, past success, or the comfort of certainty. Correct thinking requires the courage to acknowledge gaps in understanding and the willingness to revise beliefs. Scientists, for example, rarely cling to hypotheses once experimental evidence contradicts them. This mindset, valuing truth and insight over ego, ensures that thinking is responsive and accurate rather than rigid and dogmatic. Learning and adaptability are deeply interconnected. Learning provides new tools, perspectives, and information, while adaptability determines how effectively those insights are applied. For instance, an entrepreneur may learn about emerging consumer behaviors through market research. Adaptability allows them to use this knowledge to redesign products, marketing strategies, or operational processes in real time. Without adaptability, learning remains theoretical. Without learning, adaptability lacks direction. Together, they create a dynamic system of continuous improvement and intelligent action. This approach also strengthens problem-solving skills. Static thinking often produces solutions that are limited, outdated, or misaligned with complex realities. A dynamic thinker, however, iteratively refines solutions based on new knowledge and evolving circumstances. For example, engineers developing renewable energy solutions must continually adapt designs to account for technological advances, environmental regulations, and shifting energy demands. Learning informs possibilities, and adaptability ensures practical, effective implementation. The combination allows for innovation that is both informed and resilient. Continuous learning and adaptability also enhance emotional intelligence and interpersonal thinking. Understanding others' perspectives, recognizing biases, and responding effectively to social dynamics require ongoing observation and adjustment. For instance, leaders who adapt their communication styles based on team feedback foster trust, engagement, and collaboration. Similarly, learners who expose themselves to diverse cultures, disciplines, and ideas cultivate empathy and broaden their cognitive toolkit. Adaptability in thought is not only intellectual but also relational, enabling individuals to navigate complex human environments effectively. Incorporating learning and adaptability into daily life involves deliberate habits. Regular reflection, questioning assumptions, seeking feedback, and staying informed are practices that reinforce mental agility. Experimentation and embracing small failures are equally important, as they provide immediate lessons that strengthen reasoning and decision making. By making learning iterative and continuous, the mind becomes resilient to change and capable of responding intelligently to new challenges. Continuous learning and adaptability provide a competitive advantage in both personal and professional life. Those who think correctly, continuously update their knowledge, and adjust their strategies are better positioned to seize opportunities, mitigate risks, and lead effectively. Static thinking, by contrast, may yield temporary success, but cannot sustain progress in a world characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Correct thinking that is adaptive and learning-oriented transforms challenges into opportunities for growth and ensures long-term success and relevance. Embracing continuous learning and adaptability makes the mind dynamic, responsive, and future-ready. It enables individuals to integrate new information, revise outdated assumptions, and navigate uncertainty with confidence. Learning fuels growth, adaptability directs application, and together they create a mindset capable of thinking correctly, solving complex problems, and thriving in an ever-changing world.